All right, so welcome to today's podcast, 5 Traits of Unsuccessful Job Seekers. I am your host, Scott Engler, author and thought leader on contemporary job search strategies and really optimizing LinkedIn as a tool to really attract the right recruiters and opportunities to you, because that's where 94% of recruiters are looking for you. So today, let's talk about this. And so few things before I get into the 5 traits. I do want to first be open and transparent that I have been an unsuccessful job seeker, was for a long time, and that's part of the process where I was, trying to get a job in my industry back in 2008, and what eventually led me to write my first book, The Job Interview, because I was basically seeing all the changes that were happening to the job search and my own lack of success and frustration, and then speaking with other industry professionals and other job seekers that were frustrated. So I very much do identify with these traits, and I realize, before I get into them, I want to, let you know that it's okay to exude these traits, and a lot of people do from one point or another, and I really want to encourage you that just because you might have these traits right now doesn't mean that you can't turn things around. So I just want to mention that, and if some of the things I say do trigger you or make you upset, then my challenge to you would really be ask yourself why, and really take an honest look, like, well, how long have I been looking for work? What are the results I'm getting? Am I happy with them? And maybe some of these things are actually true. Because for me, it wasn't until I started to see some of these things, and by the way, this happens in a lot of other areas in life too, still, for me and obviously other people, where we could fall into these traps and patterns and really dig ourselves deeper in a hole, versus what the opposite I see of successful job seekers, or people that are successful in another area. So I just want to take the time to really acknowledge and address that. So I hope that this message, my intention is that rather than make you feel ashamed or, like my hope would be that you wouldn't take this and get really, really offended, that you would take it to heart and say, wow, maybe I am exuding some of these, and maybe there's some ways that I could turn this around. So that would be my hope for you today, if you're listening. So the first one, the first trait of an unsuccessful job seeker is just a general bad attitude. I see it all the time. I've been working with people for years on this, and, talk to job seekers, see them on Career Premium, all over LinkedIn, messaging with them, working with them. And so there's just this general bad attitude, very much wanting to blame everyone else, complaining a lot. Perfect example of this is, like, I see it all the time on Career Premium, where people are just complaining about how much that group or that site's not helping them, and then in most cases I see they haven't even taken the time to watch the introductory videos, and they're not even aware of the resources with that membership. Because honestly, for $30, I don't know where people might be living in the world, but like, that's less money than taking your spouse out to the movies and getting a popcorn and soda. That's the reality of it, and there's so many great benefits on that membership alone. And I'm not saying that it's the cure-all and going to help everyone out, but what I find is that, when people are complaining about, oh my God, it's so expensive and it's not, it's bogus and it doesn't do anything, I'll dig a little deeper with them, and they haven't watched, any of the videos that show you how to use the site and how to use some of the tools that you get when you get that membership. So they're not even using the resources available, and then they're just complaining that it's really expensive, and just, not taking any type of personal responsibility. And this trickles into so many different other areas that I see. So that's the first one, is just this bad attitude. The second one is they're not very open to learning and applying new ideas and methods. And while some may be open to hearing methods, they don't apply them. And so here's the problem with that, is that even if, you're struggling in some area and you might be asking for suggestions from people, and, maybe some, industry leaders are giving you some tips or tools, you don't take them. So what's really like knowledge without application is not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to get you any results. You just might know something, and that's not going to change your situation. So the people that I see that are being successful are the ones that, message me and they're like, Scott, I read your article and I made these changes and I'm already seeing, better things happening, or something to that effect. Like, these people are taking action. They're doing something. They're changing something. And so if you're the person that's, not open to even hearing, that's even worse. But if you're just hearing and you're not applying anything, then you're not going to get anywhere. The third one is they are reactive and passive versus being creative and proactive. And so what I mean by that is, I'll hear these messages all the time where it's like, what should I do? I'm waiting to hear back from this company. They haven't gotten back to me. It's been a month. Should I send a message? And they're so focused on things like that. And look, again, I get it, and I've been in that boat. But what I'm trying to get at here is, being proactive is, if you haven't heard back from someone for a month and you're, this is something that's important to you and you're trying to, obviously change jobs, like, start looking elsewhere. Be proactive. Don't just like wait on one opportunity and put all your eggs in one basket. What can you do to prepare and take care of what you need to do, and be creative? It's like, how could you find ways to help yourself in your own job search? And what could you do differently? I remember for me, it was like I put together a document for the jobs I really wanted, of like what their specific needs were, and then I wrote down how I could help those specific needs, and then I also wrote down like what I would want if I was working for the company. So first I addressed their needs and how I felt like I could uniquely contribute, and then I wrote down what I needed. And so obviously it was a little extra work, but it was like I would go in there and show them this, and I got jobs that weren't even being offered from doing stuff like this. So I'm sharing that because that was me getting creative, right, and doing something differently. And my last few books, I interviewed successful job seekers, and with few exceptions, almost all of them did something creative and proactive to get the job. I think actually every single one of them did. And so, that being said, if you are being reactive and passive, and you're not going to be creative and proactive, then you're not going to get what you want. And even if you do get a job, it's probably not going to be the one that you wanted anyway. You're just going to kind of take what you could get. It might be a lower pay. It might be what you didn't really want to do, because you're just taking what's coming to you. The fourth one is they're unwilling to take calculated risks and invest in themselves. So again, depending on where you're at, a lot of the people I work with are still working somewhere. I understand that changes, obviously, things a little bit, and I don't believe that I'm the resolution for all job seekers' challenges at all. But the truth is like, people that are reaching out to me and complaining, and they're like, oh, I don't have any money to spend on stuff. It's like, okay, great. You could definitely afford a $13 book, and you could apply, that has tools and tips on how to do that. And very few people have actually came back and been like, I've read it and I'm applying things. They just go back and doing what they wanted to be doing. And there's always something that you could do wherever you're at in this stage. Because the truth is, whether you're underemployed, unemployed, or currently employed, the time is going to pass anyway. And so, like one of the people in the industry that I respect, she says, what is this costing you from not doing it? If you're underemployed, I remember talking to a guy a couple months ago. He was literally getting paid half. I think he was losing out on like $3,000 or $4,000 every month for the last 3 years, because he wasn't willing to invest in anything to get himself different results and better results. So it's like, that's really part of life. And I feel like, the people that I see that have success in any area of life understand when it makes sense, when they need to invest in some type of resources to help them get to the next level. Maybe that just means going to a big workshop in town and paying a couple $100s. Maybe that means spending a little bit more than that. Maybe you need to get an interview coach. I mean, really, it's like, how important is this to you, and what's the value of, being able to get a job that you actually like that's going to pay you twice as much because you're underemployed. So I find that the people that, don't have success in this area, there's just this high level of aversion to taking calculated risks and really, bottom line, spending money on getting them further in this area. So that's the fourth one. And then the fifth one that's pretty interesting is I notice that the people that are often unsuccessful, and I see, on LinkedIn, and I'll see them a year later and they're still in the same position, or, they got a new job that they hate equally as much as, the one that they had before they quit or were let go, whatever it was, is that they're not very supportive of other people around them. I truly do understand that when you are struggling to find work and you're in this kind of situation, that it actually is this like default that we could get really selfish. And, obviously if we're having a bad attitude and not feeling good about our own circumstances, it feels a lot less natural to want to be, supportive and congratulate others. So what I say to this is, fake it till you make it. There's not only is it, I believe in, just whatever your beliefs are, but like when you help somebody else out or you're supportive to somebody else, it helps you. And the people that I notice that are being successful are the ones that will, be supportive of other people even when they're unemployed. I see people giving advice, and honestly, it's like one guy I recently interviewed that got a job. I mean, the guy was already, before he even got a job, he was already helping other people get jobs. And he got a really good job, and then, he was more than happy to speak with me and share what he did, so, we could share it with the Career Premium group and, give them encouragement as well. So I've noticed that trait in successful job seekers. There's always this desire to be supportive and to give back. And, that's honestly what helped me too, was writing a book on job search strategies. And then I actually got the job that I really always wanted in my field, as a result of like setting out to help other people. So obviously there's no need, not everyone has to go to that great lengths, but my point is find ways that you could be supportive of other people. And it could even be, it doesn't have to just be with the job search, although I think that when we help other people, one of the benefits that I've found in life is that we often get the information and advice and insight that we need ourselves. And so my recommendation would be to start with that. There's always someone to support in the groups and help out in that way. Or if, you could find other ways to volunteer your time or be of service to maybe friends in your area that might be struggling with something else. And even better is if you could volunteer your skill to keep it sharp or whatever it is you're trying to do. If you could, like, let's say that you are a mechanic, let's just say that, for example, and you're out of work, then why not, keep your skills, skills sharp and help your friends out, work on their cars or whatever, and be a service that way. And you'll obviously feel better. And when you feel better, you're going to have that momentum. You're going to put forth that better energy. You're going to have a better attitude, and it's going to come off a lot more attractive when you start, going to interview for jobs. So that's what I got today. Remember, the path to experiencing different results begins with asking different questions and taking different actions, one step at a time. Happy holidays, everyone.